Every generation, Pokemon tries to do something different or new. Sun and Moon got rid of gyms, Sword and Shield added the openish wild area, Legends added more real-time elements, so now that Generation 9 is here, they've tried making a completely open world game throwing out arenas and enclosed routes. So, how did they do? Here is my review of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for the Nintendo Switch. In these games, you play as a young trainer from the Paldea region, attending a school to learn about Pokemon. On your first day, you meet and become friends with the battle-hungry girl that lives right next door. Encounter a strange mechanical Pokemon that is put in your care and take part in the treasure hunt. A long adventure across the region to tackle gyms and discover what your treasure is. I found the story to actually be pretty good. I was a little worried about how Pokemon in a school setting would meld, but the story is told well. The dynamic between you and your rival is very cute and fun, the storyline behind why you hunt the Pokemon Titans is really heartwarming, and the game doesn't try to hide the bigger story from you like Sword and Shield did. When it comes to gameplay, this is an open world turn-based RPG with monster catching elements. As you trek through the game, you'll explore a big open world, catching Pokemon, fighting trainers, and doing mini-games for the various gyms. Now first of all, let's talk returning and new features. A bit of Gen 8 and Legends Arceus came back. Raid battles returned, letting players team up to fight special Pokemon for rewards in the form of XP candies and materials, and you can aim Pokeballs at Pokemon to start a fight or stun them for a battle advantage. There's also just a bit of the Let's Go co-op feature really expanded here, giving you online co-op with up to 4 players to adventure together. Next up are kind of new features. Dynamaxing from Sword and Shield has been morphed into Terra Crystals. Every Pokemon has a Terra type, and using a Terra Crystal will temporarily turn its typing into the Terra type. For example, my Gardevoir is Psychic Fairy, but when I use my Terra Crystal, it'll turn into a straight Fire type for a few turns. This is an interesting mechanic to help you get rid of certain weaknesses, like Salamence's 4 times weakness to Ice. Only thing is that you have to go to a Pokemon Center to recharge it, meaning if you go into a big gauntlet like the Elite Four, you can only use your Terra power once during all of those fights. But the big new feature is the fact that this is completely open world. It isn't a segmented world like in Legends Arceus, but one gigantic map you can explore with only occasional areas that have a transition to enter. And you can access almost the entire map from the beginning of the game. You just go through the intro and you're given 3 tasks for the game. Clear the 8 gyms and challenge the Pokemon League, beat the special Titan Pokemon wandering around the world, and take down the delinquent group Team Star by raiding their bases. And on top of that are some side objectives for you to work on, like taking classes at the Academy for rewards, or doing a social link-like relationship system with NPCs at the school, letting you get to know people and form bonds with the likes of the director or the nurse that really wants to be a teacher. Now the thing about all these different goals is that you can do them in any order you want. You have access to all of it right away, so you can choose what you do and when you do it. You can do them out of order, all of the gyms and Titans without touching bases. It's up for you to decide. The only restriction you have is a small part of the map containing the Psychic Gym, which you need to clear a couple of the Titans in order to access. And that brings up how you navigate. You can ride a kind of legendary Pokemon given to you early on, Koraidon in Scarlet and Miraidon in Violet. It functions as a motorcycle for you to ride around in and will gain more abilities as you beat Titans. It starts with swimming and high jumps, the latter of which is needed to access the Psychic Gym location, and will go to climbing up vertical mountains and gliding across large gaps. Abilities that are very familiar to those who have played Legends Arceus. Now, I think the freedom here is great. You can just go and collect Pokemon for hours on end, or just explore the world finding the different Pokemon centers littered around to unlock fast travel points. But there is a flaw here. It's open and you can choose what you do and when, but there isn't any sort of level scaling going on here. The Ice Gym will always have level 40 to 50 Pokemon, whether you challenge them with a team of level 10 babies or level 80 endgame monsters. So despite the freedom of choice, there is a so-called correct order. Similar to how Silver and Soul Silver did a few gyms that you could technically do out of order, but their levels didn't really change. But let's go back into the positive changes. Battles and wild catches are pretty much the same as they were in previous games, no real-time stuff from Arceus here. But everything you do in the game is seamless in the world itself. Start a battle and it won't be in an arena. It'll just be where you were when you started, and any wild Pokemon or NPCs that were in the area before are still there wandering around and watching the battle. Even evolutions happen in the world itself and not on a separate screen. That's something I really enjoy seeing. Though I will admit that the camera is a little wonky. When you're in battle and have anything that has a pretty big size difference like a Gyarados or Salamence, the camera will rarely look at the entire battle, forcing you to move it around to be able to see everything going on. And as you can expect, having 3 main tasks in this game instead of just 1 gives us a lot of content and length. This is a long game, even longer than Sword and Shield were. By the time I'd finished the main story with the gyms, titans, bases, and the endgame area, I'd been playing the game for well over 35 hours. And the post-game story to re-challenge the gyms and set up the new tournament system will easily get you into the 40 to 50 hour range. And finally, we have presentation, the most polarizing part of these games. With visuals, the game looks okay in some ways and absolutely incredible in others. So let's start with that okay bit. Textures for environments is pretty on the okay side. Some of them look fine while others really look blurred out and messy, especially the signs in front of the Team Star bases. It's definitely not a game you want to play for looking at nature. However, one thing that even Digital Foundry did not bring up in their breakdown of the game is the models for characters and Pokemon, which are on another level from previous games. There is a ton of detail put into textures and just little bits of detail here and there on clothing and different body features. If you look closely at a Luminion or Seviper, you can see individual scales moving around on their body that glisten in the light. Or zooming in on a Houndoom or Espeon will show you individual hairs going in different directions on different parts of their body. The detail they put in here is actually pretty astonishing. Way beyond my expectations, which was pretty much thinking it was going to be a Sword and Shield engine game, but larger. And unfortunately, if they had done that, maybe they wouldn't have the biggest issue of the game, which is performance. Scarlet and Violet don't play very well. Moving around the world will show you a lot of pop-in issues, and frame rate easily settles in the 20s for most of the adventure. Doesn't matter if you're solo or co-op, riding fast, or running on foot. Most areas of the game chug on the frame rate with smoothness here and there, and then a lot of frame drops. Now, is this unplayable? No. You can adjust to it and get through the game just fine, but there are a lot of frame drops, a bunch of lag when going through menus, especially with Pokédex registering, and a lot of slowdown in the heavier weather areas like the Bug Forest. Fingers crossed that they can patch this to improve before Christmas. There's also been some reports about the game crashing, but I've been playing for well over 40 hours and haven't received a single crash so far. So with that, let's go into battery life. On the original model, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet get a range of 2 hours and 6 up to 2 hours and 30. The Nintendo Switch Lite gets a range of 2 hours and 19 up to 2 hours and 43. The Red Boxer V2 2019 model gets a range of 4 hours and 33 up to 5 hours and 21. And the OLED model gets a range of 4 hours and 42 up to 5 hours and 34. Now, in conclusion, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are here and have pushed to create a huge open world game on the Switch, which is mostly achieved. On the downside, there is a myriad of performance issues right now. The open world not having level scaling does hurt the choose your own path aspect, and the camera is pretty wonky in some battles. But if you can wait for a patch or don't care about the frame drops, Behind the Performance Issues is a really good RPG. Reviews to go rates Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for the Nintendo Switch a 6 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching and have a great day.